In this video, let's talk about some of the display options we have when creating boundary surfaces. So let's go ahead and edit the surface we used to create this hood and take a look at some of the options we have when trying to visualize. So there's an options and preview section, and this typically deals with trimming the selection, merging tangent faces, using this 3D sketch option, which we talked about in a previous video. If you have an underdefined 3D sketch, then you can drag its endpoints and see the preview on the screen. But what we really want to talk about are the display options, and you have 3 of them here. We can take a look at a mesh preview, and we can modify the mesh density so you can really get a better idea of what the curvature is doing in 3D. Because when you're looking at a small mesh density, for instance, 2 curves which show you a distinct curve across the center of your surfaces, it's really hard to tell what's going on, for instance, in this bottom corner. But if you kick the mesh density up, you get a better idea of what the curvature is actually doing in this corner. Now, in addition to the mesh density, we have curvature combs, which have been on throughout the entire video series. And you have total control over the curvature combs by altering their scale and their density. You can also turn them on based on direction. For instance, direction 1 selections, if we just wanted to look at the curvature there, we can increase the mesh density and modify the scale or the density of the curvature combs and get a good preview of what the curvature is actually doing. So you can tell by this that the change in curvature is much higher in this right-hand corner, which we can see by just taking a look at the surface because it's curving over more. Now we can take a look at just direction 2 and rotate this around, and we can see the same thing, that it's actually curving more right in that corner than anywhere else. Even with these, it's still kind of hard to make sure that you're getting a good quality surface. So what we can do is actually turn on zebra stripes, turn off our mesh density preview, and rotate this around and get a good idea whether or not the curvature we're creating is stable. Now, if you have bad curvature, you'll typically see a disjoint or a jump section in the zebra stripe preview. Now you'll notice in this corner, even though we have a high change of curvature, we actually have nice smooth zebra stripes. And if we look at the rest of the hood, we have nice smooth zebra stripes there as well. And you can see the curvature that's created and the change of curvature based on the size of these zebra stripes. So these options can really help you when you're dealing with previews, especially if you have this 3D sketch option for underdefined sketches. So this is a good way before you ever create the surface to really take a look at what you've created. Now, once you've created that, you can always go to evaluate and take a look at the curvature there as well, which we'll be able to cover in a later video. But this shows you the same thing as well. You can see we have a higher change of curvature in these corners and a much smaller change of curvature throughout the hood. And our zebra stripes showed that by showing the smaller lines in these sections as well.